It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Today, we're talking about blight. Specifically, blight that has been in the San Fernando Valley for near a decade, and because I haven't been to this particular corner in over a decade, I had no idea until it was in the news just how bad Valley Plaza in North Hollywood has gotten. I remember it when I used to live in Valley Village as the closest Carl's Jr. to drive to if I just went straight up Laurel Canyon. Yes, I mapped out the entire San Fernando Valley based on my drive-thrus. This was my addiction. But it was also where that Sears was and where that Macy's was. That Macy's where I sat around for an hour trying to find somebody on the floor that could take my money to buy a belt. And at one point, I gave up. And gee, I wonder why retail's not going on down there. There was that Dollar Theater, which had the tiniest seats you could imagine because, of course, it's a $3 movie. What do you expect? But I went there a couple of times. Well, turns out ever since I moved out of that part of the valley and moved to greener pastures in Burbank, then inexplicably moved out of Burbank back to the valley, that part of North Hollywood has gone quite downhill to the point where somebody bought Valley Plaza and has been sitting on that land, not doing anything with it for a decade. And you know what that means? That means abandoned buildings. That means blight. That means crime. That means fires. It got so bad that last week, the new city councilman for that part of the valley, Adrian Nazarian, declared the property of Valley Plaza, which used to be a gem of the San Fernando Valley before the earthquakes, a nuisance. For more, here's Fox 11.
Today may bring the final nail in the coffin for the dilapidated Valley Plaza in North Hollywood.
It's never good when your first adjective is dilapidated.
Plaza in North Hollywood.
A number of city officials and community members will ask an LA commission to declare the plaza a dangerous public nuisance that needs to be demolished. Let's go to Gigi right now, standing by with those details. Gigi, good morning.
How did this place fall so quickly? It took a decade.
Good morning. And if the city does demolish this part of Valley Plaza, it will eventually be at the owner's expense. Good morning, everyone. We're live.
You know, they say that, but do these owners, especially when they're faceless corporations from other countries, I don't know if that's the specific case for this property, but you look at the Taggart Towers in downtown Los Angeles, that unfinished building that had graffiti on every single story. Well, we kept saying we were going to charge the owners of this bankrupt Chinese company to fix that building, and it's still sitting there.
Good morning, everyone. We're live in North Hollywood. Take a look at what we're talking about.
That's right. This is so up North Hollywood, it's not even called NoHo or the NoHo Arts District. This is straight up North Hollywood. What is it? Victory? It's higher than Victory. Maybe it's Victory and Laurel. I haven't been around here in a while. I just remember the Carl's Jr.
This is Valley Plaza right here on Victory Boulevard.
Hey, I got it right.
This is a mix.
You know what was right around there? And I just thought about this the other day because Johnny and I were talking about that poor guy who got robbed at the donut shop in Sacramento. I distinctly remember one of the lowest points in my life was living in the San Fernando Valley, getting blasted on weed and then driving around to find something interesting to eat. And I think it was Van Owen. No, maybe it was lower. I think it was Oxnard and Laurel Canyon. There was a strip mall that had a shop that was a combo Chinese fast food and donut shop. And I went in there and I got some chow mein and a donut and instantly regretted my life choices.
This is a mixed.
You know, they should really have a campaign for idiots who live in LA in their 20s. It does get better. It really does.
This is a mixed use shopping center. There are businesses that are open, but those are owned by another developer, the city tells us. It is primarily this building and several others that are of concern and that the city wants declared a public nuisance. Take a look at the board up. It's not even boarded up securely, the councilman for this district.
And of course, we know what has happened for several years, especially the last few years. It doesn't matter where it is. When you have an abandoned building, the homeless go in, they take over, they squat, and inevitably start fires.
For this district.
Also, have you ever thought about the fact that while the state is arguably in a housing crisis, how many abandoned vacant buildings are in the city of LA, the county of LA, or the state of California? Just something to think about.
For this district says, and we're talking about Adrian Nazarian, and today he will speak at the meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Building and Safety as they prepare to vote on an application from the Department of Building and Safety to declare a part of Valley Plaza a public nuisance.
Boy, government moves fast. This place has been derelict for a decade. It has been home to all kinds of crime. Obviously, the developer doesn't care, and they must be using the loss as a tax write-off, which is something we guess should have a whole other discussion about. But it takes the city a decade to declare it a nuisance, to maybe at some point in the future knock it down.
And I believe we have some aerials and also some ground video to show you. They want the city, the buildings demolished. Now, Valley Plaza opened back in 1951, and the councilman says it was once the pride of the valley and the region.
A very, very, very long time ago.
And the region's first outdoor shopping mall. Today, the part of the plaza the councilman says is owned by the Charles Company has fallen into disrepair.
Okay, where do we think the Charles Company is from? Can I do some on-the-fly research here? The Charles Company, real estate. Oh, it says that they're located in West Hollywood. So is this a derelict local company? We're going to have to find out. But this company has owned this property for a decade, let it sit there, fall into disrepair, hasn't developed it. I guess they're using the loss as a tax write-off because, of course, that's allowed. Should we be doing something to be more aggressive about this?
Owned by the Charles Company has fallen into disrepair. The buildings are empty and the site of fires and break-ins. As a matter of fact, just today, the city held a cleanup of a large homeless encampment on this same property.
By the way, this is a 17-acre property that is on a prime corridor of the San Fernando Valley. For all the talk of, we need to build, we need to tear down single-family homes and put up towers, here is a completely abandoned area that the homeless have taken over, that if we had a little more muscle, since obviously the developer's not doing anything with this land for over a decade, whether that's their fault or not, isn't this like the perfect place to put up some big housing?
LAPD, LASA, the Housing Authority, several nonprofits were here to offer folks housing. They tell me they've been coming out here every week.
We already have housing. I live in the auto department of the abandoned Sears.
To get these people into some housing. Many, though, refused, but many more, we're talking about dozens, did accept the city's offer of housing, and now Caltrans is here.
Hey, when we do the homeless count every single January, do we count all the people that are inside abandoned buildings? Because if we're not, that number that Karen Bass is touting really didn't go down.
Cleaning it up, that's a good thing, says the councilman, but he's worried about the buildings, especially the inside of the buildings where many encampments have been set up.
It was horrific to see what was going on inside. The trash, the human excrement, just the condition that it had been in. It showed us that none of the staff members nor the owners of the building even bother to show up to see what condition their building is in.
And this is where, although you can definitely make an argument, hey, they own the property, they should be able to do whatever they want with it. Is it not the city's responsibility to hold the owner of property accountable when the disrepair turns into blight and the blight turns into homelessness and crime for everybody?
So right there from that picture, they don't care about this property. They just care about the investment, and they're just looking to make a dollar on this.
And they've been sitting on this property for a decade. They probably bought it right at the floor, right at the price floor of everything, that sweet spot, 2010 to 2012, when prices were nothing, interest rates were low. And then I don't understand why they haven't developed it or sold this to someone. This seems like a perfect piece of land to redevelop and not into more retail, because we got enough of that in the valley. Oh no, there's no more Macy's on Victory and Laurel. I guess I'm going to have to go to the Macy's that's just a few blocks over on Woodman and Burbank. I know my valley.
Bringing it back here live, the parking lot of Valley.
Woodman and Riverside, excuse me.
Bringing it back here live, the parking lot of Valley Plaza. You see Caltrans is still here. They are working on cleaning up that side of that encampment that I was telling you about. Again, home to dozens and dozens of people. And the councilman says,
I wonder if any of them were inside the abandoned dollar movie theater. I would love to drive by that area and see what it's like now, because I remember it very differently. But something tells me it's not very safe. Well, the city of Los Angeles moves very slow to do something about this. And if you drive around the valley, you drive around anywhere in LA, there are a lot of derelict, abandoned buildings. Maybe they're owned by the Chinese. Maybe they're just owned by somebody that's letting it go into disrepair for a tax write-off. They're not developing it. They're contributing to blight. There is one city in the state of California that wants to do something about this, and that's the city of San Jose in the Bay Area. Let's see what they're trying to do to deal with the blight of abandoned buildings in their city. Here's KPIX.
San Jose stepping up its fight against blight. The city council just approved steep penalties against property owners who don't fix up abandoned and rundown buildings. So the city already had the power to issue fines, but officials say they weren't strong enough. So today, they boosted them to $10,000 per day. That is 4 times the previous penalty.
$10,000 a day if you let your building cause a disturbance to the rest of the neighborhood.
And they also increased the total maximum penalty to $500,000, 5 times the previous limit. Our Katie Nielsen spoke with one downtown property owner who hopes the steeper fines will finally wake up one of his neighbors.
This old church right across from St. James Park is actually what started the city's conversation about chronic blight. It's owned by a Chinese investment.
By the way, great name for a rap band.
Chronic blight. It's owned by a Chinese investment company.
You don't say. Just like the Tagger Towers.
And there hasn't really been much of an effort in terms of rehabilitation, redevelopment, or even selling the property. That's why the city is now saying increased fines could force property owners to finally clean up their act.
If they pay them, I mean, if they're an international company, what do you do if they don't pay? Do you seize the property? Do we even have the legal mechanisms to do that? Do you use eminent domain? What do you do here?
I have one here.
There's a lot of abandoned buildings, but we also have a housing crisis. Seems like there's a simple solution to some of this.
I have one here, and I have one behind me. And all they're doing is bringing down the value of our homes here.
And that's the thing. Buildings are not isolated. A blighted house, a blighted building can bring down the property values for everything around it because of everything that comes with it, including the homeless fires.
Longtime San Jose resident John Ray Tapia says he is surrounded by blight. There's an abandoned house that's boarded up on the backside of his property, and there's also a burned out home next door.
And this is one of the most expensive cities in the country.
He says it was once abandoned and boarded up as well, but he says unhoused residents moved in and accidentally set it on fire about 3 years ago.
That's what happens.
I'd like to see them fix it up and someone else using it.
Tapia says he even offered to buy the property from the owner, but the owner refused to sell, instead leaving it exactly as it is for years.
It's unsightly and it doesn't look good for the neighborhood.
That's why the San Jose City Council decided to increase the fines for property owners who refuse to clean up their lots to a maximum of $10,000 a day or a maximum of $500,000 a year.
That'll learn them.
Highest fine amount in the state.
We are, already hurling fines at them, but a lot of these individuals, property owners, are quite wealthy, or they live overseas. And so they treat these minor fines as essentially a cost of doing business.
Council.
And again, there's something that we have to look at here, and it's above my pay grade. But if you're taking advantage of sitting on a property, calculating it as a business loss because it's not making you any money because you're not doing anything with it, but it's just parked there so you can write off something on your taxes, there is some kind of loophole that we have to work on. That might be a federal thing, but that's a huge issue. If there is an incentive to buy a property and leave it into disrepair for tax purposes. It's like those movie studios that say, we're not going to release the Coyote versus Acme movie so we can write it off as a loss. That is a tax loophole that has got to go.
Councilmember Ortiz says many...
I want to see that movie. It looks fun. It's coming out finally after the fan backlash. But yes, movie studios should not be able to claim tax credits by canceling films just for that. And businesses should not be able to create tax credits for themselves by blighting properties and not developing them. If you're going to buy a property, do something with it. Don't destroy the neighborhood around it.
Councilmember Ortiz says many of the issues are happening in his district of East San Jose, but there are sites all over the city that are chronic eyesores.
If you don't want to maintain your property.
Also a great name for a rap group.
Chronic eyesores.
If you don't want to maintain your property and you're okay with having blighted buildings and fires and trash, we're going to push you to sell it to somebody else who will maintain it and make use of it. We need housing. We want jobs.
Lifelong San Jose.
That's Matt Mahan. He's great. Living in Los Angeles, I am jealous every day of these cities that have mayors that actually want to do better.
Lifelong San Jose resident Robert Tenori agrees and says the former Church of Christ scientist should be first on the city's list. The property was left abandoned for years after a failed restoration plan.
There's plenty of people that could benefit from this being restored and improved upon, and for decades it seems now it's just been neglected.
And the longer these things get neglected, the worse the situation gets, to the point where who's going to want to redevelop? You look at the Tagger Tower, nobody wants to buy that building and fix it up. Now, does that some of that have to do with interest rates and everything else that's going on right now? Yes, but still, you have a nearly completed project in the heart of downtown LA that nobody wants to take on and finish. Even people with FU money like Rick Caruso don't want to buy that building. But still, let's go ahead and pose the question to you, because there are a few ways to think about this. One, when you own property in the state of California, you've got a responsibility to make sure it does not negatively affect the rest of your neighborhood with blight. And local government might need to step up their efforts to do something about that, not wait 10 years and then declare you a nuisance. Or are you of the mindset that, hey, they own the property, they can do whatever they want with it? So when it comes to going after the owners of blighted, abandoned buildings in the state of California, what say you? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think local government needs to be quicker and tougher on going after abandoned, blighted buildings and their property owners? Or do you think the property owners have the absolute right to let their building fall into disrepair because it's their property? They can do whatever the hell they want with it. What do you think about this? This is something that's affecting every single neighborhood. It's affecting North Hollywood in a big way right now. But everywhere you drive around, you see abandoned buildings, and you know what that leads to. So what do you think about going after the owners of abandoned, blighted properties in California? Give me a call right now at 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. You got a problem with foreign companies owning property in California to begin with? Give me a call. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. What do you think about the state of California getting tougher when it comes to abandoned, blighted buildings in the state? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. We'll take your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Valley Plaza, after 10 years of derelict, abandoned, fires, homelessness, and blight, is being declared a public nuisance and being set for demolition in the future. In San Jose, they're taking a stronger stance on blighted, abandoned buildings and charging the property owners that aren't doing anything with these properties except creating a hazard for everybody, $10,000 a day, up to $500,000. Do you think local governments need to be tougher on the property owners of abandoned, blighted properties, or is the property owner entitled to let that place do whatever they want with it because they own it? What do you think about this? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're getting to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls right now at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. After nearly a decade of disrepair, blight, homeless encampments, and fires, the city of Los Angeles has declared the Valley Plaza, the old mall in North Hollywood, to be a public nuisance and is set for demolition. Up in San Jose, they're getting a little tougher on abandoned, blighted properties, fining the property owners $10,000 a day until they get their properties in working order, or if they're not going to develop them, sell them. Do you think California and local governments need to get tougher on the owners of abandoned, blighted properties, or you think it's their property, they can do whatever the hell they want with it? 800-222-KABC. Let's start with Monica and Irvine. Monica, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. My thoughts on this building. Folks, they can do it as long as they're maintaining a building. If the owner does not wish to utilize the property, that's fine. But he has an obligation to maintain it and keep it in good condition because it affects everybody else around him. We're all kind of integrated into, cities, counties, and states, and further beyond. But if the owner clearly isn't willing to protect the property and protect others around the property, then the cities have so much power. The cities can utilize eminent domain and seize the property, for public benefit. Lots of retail, adding lots of great restaurants to add to the community, or even other types of creative stores and jobs to enhance the economy. We all are obligated as homeowners or commercial property managers to take care of the property. When I moved into my condo, I noticed that there was a lot of pests around our condos, and I kept bugging our HOA because it's exterior, it's a responsibility, and they weren't willing to spray more. And I told them I'm going to go to the city because this is truly a nuisance. It's absolutely disgusting. And I put it on Yelp and everything. And then sure enough, they got back to their chief operations officer, and they deployed extra spraying, so it hasn't been an issue since. So we all have a responsibility. I have a responsibility as a homeowner to follow policies, even down to my potted plants. When I didn't have saucers under my potted plants, my HOA said that could affect the deck, and here's a violation, so I complied.
I love that. And I think that's definitely something that needs to be considered here. Thanks so much for the call, Monica. Appreciate it. If you're curious why, especially when you have this big piece of land that's right next to two freeways, that's in a very desirable in the sense that a lot of people drive through there. It's not the most desirable part of town. It's North Hollywood. But if you wonder why the city or the county hasn't gone through eminent domain, Think about this. As I was doing research for this story on the story about Valley Plaza in North Hollywood that's owned by a company called Charles Company, well, what do you know? They're involved in a massive corruption scandal with the County of Los Angeles. And one of the owners of this real estate and development firm, the one that owns the derelict Valley Plaza, Armand Gabay, has been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison back in 2022 for one of the biggest corruption cases in LA County history, where they were bribing county officials for very attractive leasing terms. So if you're wondering why the city and the county hasn't been tougher on this developer, it's because they're in bed with them. Yep. Let's go to Rick in Orange. Rick, hello.
Hello. So I can tell you what happened in New York when we had a similar problem years ago. The prior caller mentioned eminent domain. What you do is you bring an action. It's called in rem. You bring it against a property. It's a little bit like eminent domain, but it's a little bit different. And so you can take the property over by bringing an action that, is based on the property being a nuisance, whatever your statute or ordinance happens to say. You are going to have a couple problems, though, that you should be aware of if you do that. And one of them is in New York City, they used to have a 3-year waiting period. They would give you notice, and then take your property after 3 years. So that was taking too long because the properties were going to hell over the 3 years. So they sped it up to 1 year, and overnight the city became its own biggest slumlord. So you got to be a little bit careful about that because I don't think we're in the situation New York was in at that time where people were just leaving, but you got to be careful. But there are two other things you can do, and they should do, that nobody's talking about. Number one is you can sell the tax liens on the property to private owners. You're not collecting those taxes anyway. So it's on your books, but you're not going to ever collect it. So, $10 million, $100 million, whatever they are, sell them for, 10 cents on the dollar, 5 cents on the dollar, and let a private entity go over. And if the private entity can't seize them, they can sell the property or redevelop the property themselves. And the second thing is, and I really wish people would consider this when they think about the housing crisis and shortage, why are we allowing Chinese firms to buy up private properties in LA or in the United States? New Zealand has banned that because Chinese firms and companies and people were going over there and buying all the property, and the prices were just becoming astronomical. A lot of those people are buying the property because, A, they don't trust the government, and B, some of them are probably the government itself that doesn't mind creating blight in American cities. I don't know why we keep allowing that to happen. We should be able to take those properties too, especially if they're foreign and they don't take care of the property and they don't care about it. They're not getting a tax break back home in China or wherever they are, Russia. But we should be able to take those properties because it's our community and it's our homes.
I think you're so spot on about that. And I think that's something that the new federal government should really be looking into. If you have, especially a lot of these Chinese-owned, maybe Russian-owned, who knows, but it's a company that owns a property that's let it fall into disrepair, or it's just an abandoned building like the Tiger Towers. Yeah, that should not be allowed because that is not helping our cause, and that should be something that we really look at. I love everything you said. Thanks so much for the call, Rick. Appreciate it. Let's go to Dadim in North Hollywood. Dadim, hello.
Hi, name is Vadim. I live very close to Valley Plaza, and I can tell you why nobody would want to develop it. Back in 2021, City of LA had a bright idea of putting a tiny homes community directly adjacent to Valley Plaza. And I don't know any developers that would want to invest their money next to a homeless shelter.
I had forgotten about that tiny home village in the valley. You're totally right. Yes. Who would want to rent the retail space? Who would want to lease the retail space when we've seen all the violence that can come out of those tiny home villages? And I'm not just speaking abjectly. Kevin De Leon himself, when he was running for re-election, kept talking about the violence and the fires and the knife attacks that were coming from the tiny home village in Eagle Rock. That is a fantastic point. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Stuart in Steel Beach. Stuart, hello.
Hello, Randy. Thank you for taking my call. If you're a landlord in the city of LA or you're a homeowner who gets a notice from the fire department, they will give you a large fine if you don't clear brush on your property. If you're a landlord, I've had where even just little chips of paint or little scratches on vinyl have to be replaced. If you don't do it within 30 days, you get a LA city attorney on your rear end, and with big fines. So I'm not sure why. I think you did point out that there's some corruption involved, but a lot of these larger investments have a double standard of no action in 10 years. But if you're a landlord or a homeowner, they come after you immediately for even the smallest of things.
You are so right about that. For the mom and pop, they're down your throat every second if you're not to the T of every regulation they have. But these bigger companies, especially ones that, I don't know, have bribed public officials, they can do whatever they want, and they can allow an entire neighborhood to fall into disrepair. That's a really great point, Stuart. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Do you think local government needs to get tougher on the owners of abandoned, blighted properties? San Jose is increasing fines to $10,000 a day until you develop or sell the property. Valley Plaza, after 10 years of being abandoned and dilapidated and being home to homeless encampments and fires, is finally being declared a nuisance and set for demolition. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KBC. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, I don't know if this is a coincidence, but about 10 days ago, somebody deposited a dilapidated Winnebago in my neighborhood and just abandoned it. And it's already been ticketed by LAPD, but God knows when it's going to leave. So I thought it might be fun to put a sign on it, which I did, and it says, Karen Bass lives here, do not disturb. And to my delight, people are stopping and photographing it, like tons of people, and they're laughing. And I don't know if I don't use the internet, as you know, but if anybody's posted that to the internet, they might want to send it to you. I'd be glad to hear about, how that worked out, because it gives me great satisfaction that people can see this, that this is at the feet of Karen Bass. And, who knows what might happen, but it's really fun.
I think that's fantastic, and I will be scouring the internet. If you've seen the picture of the Winnebago with the sign Karen Bass lives here, send it to me at randykabc@gmail.com. Bill, thanks as always, buddy.
Thank you.
800-222-KABC is the phone number. Hey, look at this. 790 KABC welcomes Young the Giant at the Pacific Amphitheater on September 12th. Tickets are on sale now at packamp.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. This is a post-fair show, so tickets do not include admission to the fair, but you get to see Young the Giant at the Pac Amp on September 12th. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. All you need to do if you've got some free time to understand how this property, North Hollywood, got so destroyed over the last decade. Sure, there's the homeless tiny home village next door to it, but ultimately what you've got here is a crooked developer that has been in bed with city and county officials for years and years and years. So just look up in your free time Armand Gabay, Gabay of Beverly Hills, currently in federal prison. Why? Because he was caught offering to buy $1 million home for a Los Angeles County public official in exchange for a $45 million county lease. This company has had its hands in so many different corrupt buildings over the years, including a project that has gotten federal loans and local loans in Herb Wesson's old district going all the way back to 2010. And you wonder why, even after someone was convicted of bribery and all this corruption, why a company like this is even allowed to do business in Los Angeles. If we had a legal system that wasn't so easily bought off, because so many elected officials have been paid off by this company, I'd say this company has to forfeit every piece of property that they have. There you go. Solve the housing crisis. Just take every one of the Charles Company's properties and turn that into housing. Then the city'd have to be on the hook for it. But my goodness. And it makes you think, why is something only being done about this now? Well, there was a recent change in city council. Paul Krikorian, who held that seat for 12 years, didn't do anything about this, even though the Charles Company bought this property and did nothing with it back in 2015. Paul Krikorian gets termed out. One of the first things the new city councilman Adrian Nazarian does is says, what the hell's going on with the Valley Plaza? So I'm not saying that there was ever money that changed hands, but it sure is suspicious that Paul Krikorian did nothing about this property. And how many other properties this company still own? How many other crooked deals were out there? Because one of the owners of the company is in federal prison right now. And you think that that was the only time they ever did something underhanded? And you wonder why we have the situations we have in Los Angeles. It's because you have a lot of local politicians who were in bed with corrupt developers. And it makes you almost want to support SB 79 to take that power away from them. It's the News Blitz.